I think Twin Peaks, the final season, had the most scariest ending I've ever seen in television history. I'm not playing when I say this. My jaw was on the floor and couldn't even move my body when the episode ended because when it cut to black, there was just this primal fear in my body that I was so scared to even move a muscle. So before I get into like the theories of what I think happened to Dale Cooper at the end of the show, I should probably explain how he gets there in the first place. It's a bit confusing, but I'll try my best. So Dale Cooper in the show, he had been stuck in the like red room for 25 years. That was pretty sad to learn about. And he eventually gets out because his evil doppelganger, his name is Mr. C, he somehow made some other doppelganger, and Dale Cooper takes his place. And his name was like Dougie Jones, and he had a family. And he takes his place, Dale Cooper, and he becomes like Dougie Jones. He stays with the family for a while. There's so many good things happening, but the problem is that he has no memory of Dale Cooper because I think that transition messed his mind up somehow. And however, he was still able to do good things no matter what for all these people. It was funny how they did all that in the story. And eventually his memory comes back and he tells his family that he has to leave to go back to Twin Peaks because he has to stop his doppelganger from getting there. And he goes back to Twin Peaks and like Mr. C is greatly defeated. Came out wrong. He is finally defeated. And Dale Cooper gets an idea and he decides to go to a different timeline to save that poor girl that had been like murdered in Twin Peaks all those years ago. And her name, it was like Laura Palmer. He decides to go back into another timeline to do this. And the like Red Room, they give him permission and he is able to set out and do this. He teams up with some other character. Her name was Diane. She had been stuck in the Red Room herself for as long as he was, I think. That's a long story for another day, but her character too had suffered. And apparently they had some sort of fling going on, but she couldn't stay with him, I think because either her trauma of what she had been through in the Red Room and all that, or she just knew they just can't be together anymore. And so she leaves him at the hotel that they were staying at, and then he sets out, Dale Cooper, to go and search for, Laura. He finds her in a small town, and he stops at a diner called Judy. And he gets out of his car, he finds out where she lives by a waitress, and then he goes over there to speak with her. But her name is Carrie Page. It's not Laura. But she looks like Laura, though, but she's older now. And he asks her to come with him to Twin Peaks, and she agrees. He walks in her house, and there's like a dead body in the couch. That was a little like, whoa, moment. So that kind of told the viewer already that even though she has a different life now, it still didn't seem the best, and that really sucked. So he takes Carrie Page to Twin Peaks, and this is the moment where I was going crazy in my head here. So, during the rest of the episode, I think it was the last 15 to 18 minutes, they are just driving to Twin Peaks. This part really got to me because it was just building up, building to the finale. And it made me so nervous because things were so calm. But there was just this very dreadful silence between them. And two things you notice here is how quiet it is. And then Dale Cooper was very calm. Like, I gotta be honest, in the final episode, it didn't seem like Dale Cooper anymore to me. I think after being in there, I was like in like the Red Room for so long, I think maybe he changed. Understandable, because that's a lot of trauma. You know, just knowing that you're in a supernatural like realm for so many years knowing that someone else took your place. And it wasn't a good guy either. And okay, so eventually the two of them, they get to Twin Peaks and he takes her to her old house. But there's something wrong with Twin Peaks and you just can't explain it. Like, it feels dead, the town, but you recognize the same like areas that we're all familiar with for the show. But there's some sort of emptiness in the air, but you just can't explain it. So they get to the house. He asks Carrie if she's like remembers her old home, and she said no. And so they get out of the car and they go speak to the owners of the house. Turns out her mother, Sarah Palmer, they have no idea who she even is. Like, they have no idea whatsoever. So Dale Cooper thanks them. And then they go back to the car and they're standing outside of the car and Dale is just there, and all of a sudden he says to Carrie, what year is it? And then all of a sudden Carrie looks up at the house, she hears her mother calling her name, and then she screams, and the episode ends with all like the lights going out in the neighborhood, and it cuts to black. That is the ending of Twin Peaks. And it is so well executed because the dread that it builds up to the end, it felt like very like some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for here? It felt like a very like Lovecraftian horror to me. And it was so disturbing for me to watch that ending. Like, I was in total shock when the episode ended. It just cuts away, like literally cuts to black after that moment. And I have two theories as to what happened to Dale Cooper, and it really sucks because I think it is a bad ending for what happened to his character. The first theory I have for Dale Cooper's fate, I believe he traveled to the wrong timeline. So when he gets to the area, right, Twin Peaks, that line, what year is it? And then it cuts to like Laura screaming, and then the lights go out in the neighborhood, and that's it. So I think Dale traveled too far in the future. I think maybe he was in a very different timeline than what Twin Peaks was supposed to be in. I think everyone was already dead, people that they all knew personally, and he went too far. And I think with why it's like Laura screamed, it makes sense because maybe she realized at that moment, I'm supposed to be dead, and she freaked out and screamed, and that's why like everything went off, all the lights in the neighborhood, because it was kind of like she broke through like reality. Because it's true, Dale Cooper and her character, they shouldn't exist anymore, because if they travel too far in the future, that means everyone's dead. That was it's an awful theory, it's not great, but it's just haunting to think that Dale screwed up so badly, and they went to a different timeline, and everyone that they knew and cared about are all dead, they're all gone. And it's just a very, very disturbing theory. And the second theory I have is Dale Cooper back in the Red Room for good this time? So I think Dale Cooper was never supposed to bring back like Laura to that house, her old home. I think the Red Room, they had given him permission, right, to go back to go to an alternate timeline to save Laura. He got his wish. But I think that's where it was supposed to draw the line. I don't think he was ever supposed to bring her back to that house, but he chose to. And I'm curious why he even did that in the first place, because again, his character did change very drastically in episode 18, but I think it's because after everything he went through, maybe he just wasn't thinking anymore. And I get it, you know, he was trapped for 25 years in the Red Room. Maybe he went crazy. And I think at the end of the episode, when the lights had gone out, And like after like Laura had screamed at her house, I think maybe that signified that the Red Room's like facade was like over. I think because in the show we learn that the Red Room is somehow connected to electricity, and it's a big deal in this whole season. Like they are, for some reason, they are like connected to this connection, the electricity, and I think at the end of that episode, when it's like Laura screams at her house and all the lights go in the neighborhood, I think maybe the Red Room was kind of like it was over. That other like world that they sent Del Cooper to, it was kind of like shut it off, it's gone. And I think maybe that when the screen cut to black, that was pretty much like it for the world. I think it got destroyed or it vanished, and Del Cooper was sent back to the Red Room permanently. And the reason why I think he was sent back to the Red Room is because if they're able to keep you for 25 years, surely they wouldn't mind keeping you for longer than that. And come on, they kept Diane there for a good while, and that was his like partner apparently in the FBI for a while. So they kept her for that long. Imagine what they're gonna do to Del Cooper, knowing he's gonna be there for a long time. It is very tragic that he got a bad ending. Like, I gotta say, this show didn't show any mercy to the characters at all when it came to some of them. Some other characters that got a really bad ending to was Audrey, and I was like, wow. So, two characters that had a very strong bond in the first two seasons were the ones who got the worst end of the stick. Like, their endings were very similar. I'm actually gonna do some like other video for like Audrey soon. Her ending was very disturbing too. And just Del Cooper, man, that is so tragic that he got a bad ending, because after everything he's gone through, he did not deserve that ending. And it's really sad because he really had a good heart. And to get stuck in the Red Room for 25 years, that is really sad. And the fact that he probably ended up back there after not following the orders she was supposed to follow again, that's never explained, just a theory. And it sucks that possibly he screwed up somehow and then he's back there. Or he went to a different timeline, which is still a bad ending because the people he cares about, they're all gone or they're dead. You know, like, damn, that is a powerful ending to Twin Peaks. I thought it was pretty like ironic it ended on a cliffhanger ending, but it made sense because the last two seasons did. But this one, it felt like an actual ending this time. It felt very real. And it was just very haunting. The final moments of that episode, just the last 4 minutes, were so hard for me to watch. I had a hard time. That was probably the first time for a show I've ever felt terrified what was going to happen. And the dread I felt going down my back when she screamed, and then when the lights went on the whole neighborhood, I was like, oh no, and then this went to black. It was kind of like a nightmare or something, like, ending, and it makes sense for Twin Peaks 10 with a bad ending. It really does make sense, because this show, it was just very powerful, it was very disturbing and dark in many parts of the show, and it does make sense to give Del Cooper the bad ending. Like, the other characters in season 3, they felt right. And yeah, some of them did get bad endings, but I felt like they were very good for their character journeys to end that way. And Del Cooper, it makes sense for him to end this way because he came to Twin Peaks to save this poor girl. And, well, he came to solve her murder, sorry. He came to solve her murder, and he finds out who killed her. He's still there battling another serial killer later. And then he gets stuck in the Red Room because that other serial killer kidnapped his love interest and brought her to the Red Room. Goes after her. And then Bob, an entity from the Black Lodge that was very powerful and very terrifying, comes after Dale Cooper. He gets replaced with Mr. C as the evil doppelganger. and he's stuck there for 25 years as his doppelganger wreaks havoc on the world. And then season 3, he finally gets out, but at what cost? So yeah, this show is incredible. I really think Twin Peaks is one of the best horror shows ever made, or probably the best one ever made. But that ending, that was very gutsy for it to end that way. And I gotta give it to David Lynch here. He's a mastermind of horror, and I'm really sad he's gone. He is a true mastermind. He is a master of his craft when it comes to the horror genre. That man is a genius. He was a genius in the horror genre, and I'm really gonna miss him. His work is incredible. And Twin Peaks is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like top 5 or even top 3. Or maybe my number 1. I don't know, guys, but it's one of the best shows ever made. So yeah, Twin Peaks. Dang, that's an what an ending. Okay. That's it for today, guys. I'll see you with a brand new video very soon. Peace out.